Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Great Days Outdoors Magazine. The first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I'm Butch Theory, and I'm joined today with Captain Richard Rutland as my co-host. How we doing today, Captain Blood?
Oh, Butch, if I was any better, I'd be you, sir. Down there, I can, we could see each other on the Zoom thing we're doing. I always see you kind of looking out over the river, when we're doing them remote. And I'm like, man, I'm jealous.
Watching this water rise right now, Cap.
Oh, I know, man. We got a little weather coming our way.
Man, what a crazy year.
I know. I try not to get too worked up about these storms. I don't know. It just, you gotta
roll with it.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of the price we pay for living in paradise, really.
Yeah, that's the life we live. So I try not to get too worked up about them. If they look like they're coming, I'll start hustling. I definitely started hustling around the day before Sally got here, maybe 2 days before, because I mean it was it got real quickly.
Yes, it did.
So I was hustling around getting my generator and all that kind of stuff together. So anyway, all that stuff's on standby, ready to go if I do need it.
Same, me too. I'm fueled up, ready to roll. Got plenty of beverages and. Just roll it out, man. That's all we can do. Hopefully we won't lose power, and hopefully, man, not my biggest, but I hope we don't mess up this fishing that's been hot as heck.
Golly, you're right about that, man.
I mean, I feel like it has just been getting perfect.
Yeah, things are really starting to come together as far as the fall fishing goes. Water temperatures are not really dropping or doing anything substantially, but you can definitely tell that the fish are starting to stage up for what's going to be their fall going into winter pattern. Yep. And I think the thing we've talked about on here before that Patric Garmeson pointed out to me a couple of years ago is the length of day is starting to really shorten up. You can tell it's not getting light till about 7, and then it's getting dark about 6:37. We're getting right at 12-hour days or so, significantly less than we were about a month ago. So
definitely.
I think the fish feel that as well. You're starting to see all the bait and everything stage up to go into the rivers inshore-wise around here. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun, and it's widespread too. It's not one localized little area. We'll kind of get into that more, I think, during the inshore report. But
for sure. I saw you send me a picture of a whopper. We got a whopper story coming or what?
Oh yeah, we got a good story coming up. Had a personal best species a couple days ago, but I'm gonna just kind of tease you guys with that for a little bit.
That's right. Stay tuned, huh?
Yeah, that's right. When we move to the inshore report, I got all kinds of interesting things to talk about. It should be fun.
For sure, man. Like I said, I just really hope this storm doesn't mess us up too bad. I got to get out with KillerDock Jay the other day, and we blistered some trout, man. We had a good time.
Man, that's fun. That's saying a lot for you two going out there too, man.
We don't ever catch anything. I know.
I'm joking. Y'all are learning though, man. That's that's what it's all about, though. But you're new to inshore
Absolutely.
fishing.
I'm not a guru by any means.
Yeah, the past couple of years you've been starting to get after it and whatnot, and man, it's fun when you start to have some success like that.
It is, man.
Man, it gives you a freaking head full of steam, doesn't it?
Big time. That's exactly what I told Jay in between slapping slime on the deck was, man, this is because of the podcast. I listened to the last 2 weeks, obviously, and just took my tidbits and went where I thought they were, and we smacked them. It was fun.
Yep. Well, cool. That'll be fun to get into here in a little bit.
Absolutely. All right, man, let's get into this thing. This week's show is brought to us by FFH Consulting. FFH Consulting is operated by Captain Dustin Bedgood. He's a regular contributor to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report podcast. Dustin is using his resources as a cleanup specialist to help rebuild the Gulf Coast that he loves. FFH Consulting has equipment for any type of cleanup job, including hard-to-reach marine applications. FFH's services include dock removal, dock repair and rebuilding, debris removal, tree work, bulkheads, as well as boat salvage. Give Captain Dustin a call or text him at 251-286-0884.
Man, I've been watching Dustin on the on social media. He has been really getting after it every single day.
Yeah, they have some crazy machinery, all kind of amphibious stuff and wild.
That's cool. Another captain who started a cleanup business right after as well. It's kind of a slow period.
You got to pivot.
Yep, he's been on the road doing that. But we usually as captains don't just have one means of making some money.
Yeah, you got to pivot. Captain Dustin's inshore boat got slammed, and so he just kind of pivoted and got to do what you got to do.
Yep, got to hustle, man. Got to hustle.
Right.
He's good and young. You know what I mean? He's always hustling.
Oh yeah, dude. He's a hard worker for sure. I like Captain
Yep.
Dustin. All right, man. Let's Captain Patric Garmeson wanted to get on and talk to us a little bit. Let's see what he's up to.
Hey, Captain Pat, how you doing today, sir?
Doing well, man. Had to don the rain gear a little bit, but it wasn't too bad today. Wasn't too bad. We had a little breeze, little sideways rain, but speckled trout were active as all get out, and no competition on the water. I didn't see another boat all day.
That I believe.
I won't consider you too crazy for going today right here pre-storm like this, because I know your customer Corley there from Atlanta was who you had, and so man, you're not telling him no. You know what I mean? We are going fishing today. I don't care if there's a storm or not.
Yep. You better find some fish for me.
Yeah, and he'll tell you where to go and how to catch them too. You know, he's a full service client. I love it.
Yeah, that makes it easy. I like that.
I would imagine with some wind blowing and a little bit of rain and stuff like that probably helped you a little bit with our lack of tidal conditions the past couple of days. Probably got some water moving for you. What was it doing?
It just came in the whole time we were out there. If you look at what the actual tide was doing, is it just slowly came in. I think it was around 2.5 feet at the Coast Guard station around the time I launched the boat, and it was just a little over 3 foot when we came in.
You got your feet wet getting back in the truck.
Oh man, dude, it was knee deep. It was knee deep at the boat ramp for sure. So.
Hey, well, it's a hell of a lot better way to end the day than to start the day. I can't stand starting the day, getting up there to the causeway, and there's water over every single ramp. And you basically got to get your feet wet before you go fish all day. You know what I mean? I can't stand having wet feet. So got lucky on that one there.
Especially not at 6 a.m.
You get lucky on some fish. What'd you find today?
The trout were nice and hungry and aggressive. Saw some had some on top water, throwing the egret wedgetail mullet, that little swim bait. They were smoking that. We got on one spot where we pulled down, and Scott and Norman were whacking them good on slick lures. They actually buy their own tackle. You know, Richard knows this, but a lot of, Norman and Scott and Brad and all these guys that come down here from Atlanta, they'll buy like hundreds of dollars worth of slick lures or whatever we're going to be doing, and they'll bring them down with us. And the cool thing is they'll buy colors that maybe I don't already have. And today in particular, they had the what Joey calls the dirty chartreuse or whatever. It's the full chartreuse slick lure.
Yeah, with that
black or dark flecks or whatever. Yeah.
Yep, that's
and
it.
they were smoking that thing, and I actually didn't have any in my tackle box, so now I gotta
nice. Got restocked.
I need to add some of those to the mix. And then the pop and cork and voodoo put a few fish in the boat. We had some live shrimp, put some good quality fish in the boat. So I mean, it was a fun morning. We got to do a bunch of different tactics and catch fish all in the same general areas. So, and really, I don't know that we had, just looking around, there were some pogies around, there were some mullet around, but we weren't in just this big giant wads of bait or anything like that to give it away. I just really set ourselves up to where we could fish with the wind at our back and just make some slow drifts as we went. We were kind of moving along with the wind, and that's how we got it done today.
You think this storm's going to mess up our pretty little situation we got this kind of developing here?
Oh man, it's. I think it's going to be terrible. I have a sick feeling in my stomach about it.
I think it's going to wreck us.
So on the optimistic side, I see that the projection right now is Coffeyville and Alabama River both jumping about 20 feet, which is a pretty significant jump at one time. However, that was forecasted before the storm has picked up some more speed. And what's going to be cool is we're going to be able to see what actually happens by the time this show airs, as far as how much rainfall falls upstate. But the less rainfall that falls upstate means the less those rivers are going to rise, which means the less it's going to impact the Delta. I'm optimistic that things are going to hold up. There may be a 7 to 10, maybe even a 2-week period where what Richard and I were doing in the Delta may just totally go to crap for a couple of weeks. But I really think the areas that are south of the causeway that we've been fishing are going to hold up and maybe even improve as the water quality declines. And then as soon as the water quality starts improving again, those areas in the Delta should fire right back up for us. That's my thought on it.
Man, Pat, we might have a new nickname for you, man. Positive Pat, man. I like it. I like it. You've been Mr. I remember a couple times you were Mr. Negativity on the outlook on some storms, and we got lucky on damn near all of them. But anyway, I just want to tell you I'm proud of you, buddy.
Oh, thank you, Richard. Thank you.
Positive
I try to, it's a positive mental attitude, gets us through the day.
That's right.
Keeps us focused through hard fishing times. That's all
PMA.
I got to say about that.
PMA. Yeah. I was going to say it. PMA. What was PMA again?
Positive. Who was that? We had somebody.
Positive mental attitude.
No. It was Adam Peoples.
Adam
that we caught the swordfish with.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I like that, Pat. Well, what else you got, man? I know you want to come on today and talk about something.
Yeah, so got a auction coming up that's going to be online, and it's going to launch actually tomorrow, Thursday, the day that this show should air. We'll put links on our Facebook and Instagram pages and all that, both Ugly Fishing and personal. So we'll make sure everybody's aware of it. But it's a foundation that really personal to me. It's called the Barry Strong Foundation. It's named after 16-year-old Caroline Barry from Spanish Fort. She's a good close friend of my daughter's. Caroline was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and once she was diagnosed, it became her personal mission to raise awareness and funds for childhood cancer research. However, on Thanksgiving in 2018, she actually lost her battle with cancer. And now it's her family's mission to honor Caroline and by helping local children and families continue to raise awareness and funds for the research in her honor. Caroline and me and Caroline and Chloe, we fished a tournament together. Probably, it was like just only maybe weeks or just maybe a couple of months before she was actually diagnosed. And she caught a 5 1/4 pound speckled trout to win the tournament that she was fishing in with us.
Nice.
And so we've got, I believe that picture is shared somewhere in here. But anyway, she's just a ball to be around. Just joking, laughing, carrying on, even through the hard times. She was always a big, the life of the room. She was really always joking and carrying on. And anyway, it was a big loss as far as, to lose a person like that and as full of life as she was. But it's our honor now to support, the things that she was important in her life in the last couple of years of her life. And it was raising awareness and I've been touched in a couple of different ways with childhood cancer. My niece, she had cancer and is a survivor. My old boss, Damian Moreau, his daughter was diagnosed with cancer at a very young age, and she's a survivor. So, there are some success stories out there. There's a lot of children that aren't successful in the fight. What Caroline's mom's doing.
It's an online auction or something?
Yeah, so they're doing an online auction. They've got a bunch of cool things to auction off. And one of the things is I donated a fishing trip to it. So I'd appreciate any of our listeners to go in there and jump on that. It's $400 value worth of, basically just, it's a $400 credit towards a fishing trip, or if you want to break it up into multiple fishing trips, however you want to do it. But that's what it is. Go on there, purchase that, help raise some money. So, okay, so I'm going to go into just a couple of the items here. So, so they've got quite a few different items to bid on, anywhere from a 3-night stay in a condo, Lake Martin condo, Wind Creek Casino, striped bass fishing trip, my fishing trip, as I mentioned, Steelwood Country Club golf passes, some art, cornhole boards. There's a lot of cool things. There's stuff that, whether it's taking a trip, taking a fishing trip, or some items for around the house, around the beach house, or whatever. So y'all don't mind, I'd really appreciate any of our listeners showing some support to the foundation, and try to help raise some money, raise some awareness for childhood cancer research.
Awesome,
yeah,
man.
that sounds like something I'm interested in. If I'd be tickled to death to get a fishing trip with Patrick, because I could just heckle him all day long on the boat. It would be worth its weight in gold.
Yes, it would. I'll bid on that.
Be like, man, you sissy, you can only throw it 100 feet. Come on.
Well, I set my brakes so I don't backlash. So
Nice.
it's a backlash-free fishing reel is what it is.
Oh my
Richard.
God.
I accept that. I accept that challenge. If it's a bait caster, I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Well, I'll give credit where credit's due. Captain Bobby says, man, you're not, he says, man, you got to have those brakes wrecking loose, man. Wrecking loose. He's always, he compares everything to NASCAR, He's been a NASCAR fan. That's why he says wrecking loose. Yep.
All right, Captain Patrick, we appreciate that, man, and hopefully these guys will jump on there and show some love. We'll make sure and post that. Make sure you send me that link. Captain Patrick will post it on his Ugly Fishing on Facebook, and we'll try and post it on the Best Fishing Report and in the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report group as well.
Yeah, it's really great hearing cool stories like yours, Patrick, where you were a part of that young lady's life. Did some special things with her, gave her some great memories, and now you're helping her on the backside, So, man,
that's too young. Gave me the tingles.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely is a tragedy of a loss to have her gone so soon, but telling you that girl was she was fired up when she was diagnosed. She was aggravated with the lack of support behind childhood cancer research.
Yeah.
And funding and all of that when she started digging into it. It was really impressive to see how driven she was. I mean, she would go while under chemo and she's fighting the fight for her own life. She was going to local high schools and stuff and going and talking to high school students and telling them about how little amount of funding there was for it and just bringing awareness to everybody while she was in the fight of her life. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
A lot of maturity there, obviously.
Yeah.
You got that right.
All right, Cap. We appreciate that, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your show. Hopefully,
be safe.
Y'all get some more fishing info out there.
No doubt, buddy. Be safe.
Stay ugly.
That's easy. See ya.
All right, Captain Richard. Let's head on down to Orange Beach, Alabama. Let's talk to Captain Shane Toole. He runs that Necessity. It's a 42 Freeman. Is that right, Shane?
Yes, sir. That's it.
Dang, rocket out of there, man.
Boy, man. Yeah, I bet that thing like Cadillac rolling out of Orange Beach, man.
I've never been on a Freeman.
Oh, it's nice.
We went on that Invincible. I'd like to ride on the Freeman. Waiting for an
we did. Yeah, we did get to ride on Invincible. I was real impressed with how that boat handled and fished and all that. It was definitely an interesting ride.
Definitely a different experience for sure.
Mm-hmm. Man, the platform is so wide on them, though, man. You got so much room in that thing. It's pretty cool,
Yep,
move around in it.
Definitely a different deal.
But once you get on a cat boat, it's hard to go back to a monohull.
Really?
Yeah,
Captain Adam was saying the sides were a
ride.
little high. So you really like bill fishing off of it and sword fishing off of it and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the drifting in them in any kind of side sea, they're just a real stable platform. You don't need a seakeeper or anything. It barely rocks and rolls. I mean, the charter, the guests are very comfortable. We rarely have anybody get sick anymore.
It's a big deal for sure.
I've been very impressed with.
Cool, man. Well, I know I saw you had a couple of awesome trips. Just kind of walk us through what you caught and give us the rundown.
Yeah, between hurricanes and storms, it's been tough to get offshore, but we've had a few pretty days. We went offshore one day and did some sword fishing. It was awesome. We're 2 for 2 or 2 for 3, you might want to call it. But we had 2 sword fish before 9:30 a.m. in Insta-bites. As soon as you hit the bottom, boom, there you go. And that was the guy's first ever swordfish trip. You got to catch 2 back to back. He was stoked.
Dang, that's awesome. What are you guys using for bait?
Squids. I'm a big squid guy.
Nice.
You can't go wrong with squid.
I agree with
everything
that.
he said. We caught a big eye thresher shark. I mean, probably 14 foot. It was the first one I've ever caught. Pretty rare.
It's very rare. I don't think I've ever even heard of that.
Yeah, they're cool. With giant tail on them. We thought it was a giant swordfish for a while, and of course it was a shark.
How deep were you guys fishing?
Right there, so we've been averaging right about 1,400, 1,450. It's been a good depth for me on that spot.
Awesome. You guys caught a couple marlin on a couple of trips last back. I saw some pictures of some marlin too, right?
Yeah, that was on Saturday. I mean, the blue water's in close. The current's good. There's bait everywhere. We went 2 for 3 on a day trip at Orange Beach for blue marlin, which is incredible.
That's insane. Live baiting?
Live baiting, live blackfins. I mean, you can't ask for a better trip than that. There's tunas popping around. A bunch of the charter guys out of Venice were doing the live chumbing, and they're catching quite a few of them.
That's nuts, man. Whenever you rig up a blackfin, kind of walk me through a little bit of your rigging process. You know, just say an average, you know, what's the average size bait that you would use for that? Is there a sweet spot there?
Average size bait anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds. We use what we can catch. That day, we call them gumdrop bait. They're all like 4-pounders, 3-4 pounders, real small, which are great size baits for blue marlins. But when they're that small, the tunas can easily eat them also. So it's really nice. But,
which isn't a bad thing.
No, that's a good bycatch to have. How
do you guys rig up that blackfin as far as attaching the hook to that blackfin? I know there's several different ways.
Yeah.
Forgive my ignorance. I've never live bait fishing. I've never done that before.
Yeah, I think I've seen a few videos and whatnot, but I'm a little bit green on that too. Believe you kind of bridle them up with a rigging needle or something like that. Go through that for us, Shane.
Yeah, I'm a bridle guy. A lot of people are using the darts now. It's like a dart on a little tag stick device that you dart them right in the nose. I'm not a big fan. It's quick. People love them, but I'm a bridle guy. You go through the eyes with a needle and a floss loop or a Dacron loop or 80-pound braid. You go through the eye, come back around the hook, and you spin it 7 or 8 times and go back underneath it, and it secures that hook down really good. And when a blue marlin eats and comes tight, that braid comes through and releases the blackfin, so you're just hooked up to the fish.
That's awesome. Are you doing a super long leader?
Yeah, depending on the size baits, I'll use anywhere from 180 to 300-pound fluorocarbon, 30-foot leader.
Nice.
That way you can get pretty close to it and and wire the fish up.
No doubt.
Yeah, and then how many baits at a time are you usually trolling? Are you just doing usually like typically 2 on your outriggers, using your outriggers, and then just kind of bump trolling those, or?
That's that a little bit. We're only fishing 2 baits at a time. On the bigger boats, you could sneak out a third bait, but when on a charter, 2 baits is plenty. You only want to put out as many baits as you want to catch fish at one time, in my opinion. But we rarely will have a double header, but you don't want to have a tuna come through there and then you have 3 fish on at one time.
I'd be
but 2 baits. Sure. We normally pull on both of the riggers, but the hurricane stole one of my riggers, so I was only using 1 rigger and fishing one off the rod tip.
Jeez, well, you're lucky that's all the hurricane got from what I've seen over there. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, you're right. So then you're kind of bump trolling those baits around some type of. Are you mostly doing that around structure, or do you do that around open water over some natural bottom or something?
We prefer to do it around oil rigs. That's where the bait is. That's where the fish are congregated. And we were fishing around beer can when we had all that action.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
And we try to keep it around 2 knots, 2.5 knots. If you go too fast, you'll kill your bait, or they don't like to pull right. And if you go too slow, the bait doesn't look as natural. And a blackfin or a tuna likes to swim. You got to keep them moving.
No doubt. That's other good baits.
And then how are you? Maybe talk about your tackle a little bit. What size rod and reel you're using? Top shot, your braid, if that's how you do it, and then maybe kind of go through a hookup for us, like getting a bite and what you're doing when you get hooked up.
We're using, I don't know about you, we use 50 wides. A lot of the big game boats, they fish with, Shimano 80s or even 130s. They got fighting chairs, and it's a little more comfortable. My guys are going to be fighting stand up with 50 wides. Very comfortable for them to stand up and fight it in. When I prefer the Black Magic harnesses. I don't get paid to endorse them, but it's the best best harness on the market.
I enjoyed one of those for a couple of hours.
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did.
Especially if you're in one for a couple of hours.
Yeah, no doubt. So that's a good question by Captain Richard, because we have several offshore guys that contribute, like Devin Potts and all of them, and it's the age-old question: what do you do when you get a fish on? Are you gonna, especially with live baiting, because I'm intrigued about that? You gonna let the fish eat it for a little while, and then what's the best way to set the hook? Are you gonna put the boat in gear? Are you gonna gouge on it? What do you do? What's your strategy?
So when we're trolling or bumping around live baiting, you got an in-free spool, clicker on, your hands on the reel holding the line. When a fish eats it, you're still holding pressure on the line. It's taking it, and it takes a little while to get a feel for it, but you can normally sometimes they'll slow down when they're taking it in a free spool. It's like they're almost eating the bait, and then when they take off for the second time, that means they swallowed it. Or sometimes they're hauling ass, they're dumping it, and you know they got it. And then we communicate with the mate, and the captain communicate. He's like, all right, Shane, let's go. And I'll put the boat in gear, run it up just a little bit, and they'll push it up halfway to strike. And when we get tight and it's taking drag, I'll back off, and they'll push the drag up a little more, and we proceed to battle.
That's awesome. That's good stuff, man. Do you guys use headsets?
No, not on my boat. When we're 10 feet
That's
apart.
true.
On the big boat, we have to have the headset.
That's true. Those big towers and all, man, it's impossible to yell at each other.
You can do it, and it's tough. But once we switched to the headsets on the big boats, it was a game changer. I feel like we caught more fish doing it that way.
Yeah, communication's key, man. You guys got to work as a team. It's teamwork.
That's right. I bet there's a lot of learning to do as far as like how to set your outriggers too, like for them to snap loose. Do you like yours light, or you like them pretty tight and let the fish snatch it out, or how you go about that, or you want it as light as it can be?
It depends on how big of a bait you're using. If you're using a 10-pound bait, you got to have it a little tighter in the rigger, just because if you don't, it'll pop out every 5 seconds if you're trying to hold it. But
True.
I mean, there's that sweet spot with every bait you use where it'll hold, but when that fish pops, it'll pop it out.
Do you have a certain brand of those you like better than others?
I don't even think I know. I think it's a roller troller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody has a lot of personal preference with that stuff. People who really start to dial into that, especially that kind of thing, man, I know how I am about my inshore stuff. I get real picky about everything I use, only about.
It's funny because you get picky about some things, and some things it's like, well, I mean,
you don't care. Yeah. I agree.
If it works, it works,
That's right.
And I'm still transitioning from the big boat to a center console fishing, and everything's pretty close, but my riggers are smaller, they're shorter, and everything's just more compact. So but it's working. Everything I've brought from the big boat has still worked.
That's
so
awesome.
We're getting there.
Yeah, I know you guys smash fish, man. I've been following your Facebook page over there. You guys run into any tuna out there whenever you were fishing?
No, I mean, I was watching them, but my guys that chartered me, they were pretty dead set on catching blue marlin.
Sweet.
So it was tough watching all the Venice guys catching tunas left and right, and we were just doing the boring bill fishing, which 90% boring. Once you get a bite, it gets pretty crazy.
Yeah, definitely, that's true. Man,
you gotta have a mindset for it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
That's a great report, man. We got to get that offshore tip from before we let you go. This week's offshore tip is brought to us by Advanced Transmission. Is your truck's transmission acting up a little funny? If someone tells you the transmission needs to be replaced, get a second opinion. At Advanced Transmission in Spanish Fort, Alabama, 99% of all transmissions can be repaired and do not need to be replaced. They're the only transmission facility on the Gulf Coast that rebuilds CVTs, and they have courtesy vehicles available at no charge with a major transmission overhaul. Give them a call at 251-626-6061 or check them out online at www.advanced-transmission.com. Be sure to tell them you heard this ad for a 10% discount. What you think for an offshore tip this week, Cap?
Man, what really saved my trip was networking, talking to a few different guys. I'd been on the phone with Scooter Porto and Nick Knopfine. He was running the Annie Girl. They've been out there for 2 days, and they've been updating with every fish they caught and every location they were at. So that really gave me an advantage before I even left the dock. I mean, I already knew where some fish were.
Eliminating water. That's a big deal.
Shane, I know how a network works because I have a very good one, and I utilize it a lot. What do you think makes for a good network as far as like when you're talking about network, you're talking about communication with other captains or friends or anything like that? Is it mostly for you? Is it mostly for people in the profession, or do you have any recreational anglers you use? I mean, I know I kind of use a little bit of both, or utilize, I would say, in my network. So how does all that work for you?
I mean, I use a lot of other captains, but that's taken 15 years of being in the business of building a relationship with a lot of people, which I use them. And if I can give anything in return, I give it right back. I know I work with Bill's staff a lot in the Sea Spray, and I work with some guys in Louisiana. They need something and I need something, so we try to help each other out as much as we can. And recreational guys, I use them a lot, especially on Facebook. I mean,
yep.
I'm not scared to shoot somebody a message that posts a pretty good report and ask them, where they were, what they did, and if I can help them out, they'll help me out.
Yep, that's a pretty
Facebook's
neat deal.
A great tool.
It is. It's changed the game.
The one thing I always say about your network and sharing information is it's always got to be a two-way street. You know what I mean? If we have some listeners out there, you're trying to utilize what we're talking about here as far as having a network. information is a two-way street. And when it's no longer a two-way street, you'll see you get cut out of the information real quickly.
You see somebody sandbagging one time.
Yeah, that's it. And you have to
get the
go.
chop.
You know what I mean? You can't just be the guy that
gives and gives and gives and gives. Yeah, you're right.
That's it. So
I work with some old school guys, and if you just use them, they'll shut down real quick.
For sure.
Yep. So I think
that's
it's
an awesome tip.
Yep. Cool, man.
Captain Shane, if folks want to get up with you and book a trip, I know you do a lot of things, man. You do a lot of bottom fishing and a lot of offshore fishing and sword fishing and everything, don't you?
Yeah, we do it all. Anywhere from snapper fishing to blue marlins and sword fishing. And anything you want to do, we can go catch.
That's awesome, buddy. If folks want to get up with you and book a trip, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Best way is look us up on Facebook, Necessity Sport Fishing or Necessity Deep Sea Fishing, and shoot me a message. Awesome, buddy. We appreciate the report, and we look forward to talking with you next time. I appreciate y'all. All right, Cap. I always love to hear a good marlin story, man. Gets me fired up. I like Captain Shane Toole, man.
He's a real good dude, man. You can tell you works hard, runs a good operation.
He's been doing it for a long time, you can tell.
Yeah, God knows what he's talking about. If you're out there live baiting blue marlin and got that stuff down to a science, where you're getting
absolutely
getting consistent at it, man. That's pretty incredible,
Definitely. Maybe we can finagle a invite. Get on that.
Man, that sounds like a lot of fun.
No doubt. All right, man. Give us the inshore report this week, man. What you been up to?
Man, I've been doing a lot of flounder fishing lately. So I got a great flounder report. Did a little bit of inshore fishing. I've done some cobia fishing too. So kind of been all over the place a lot. I guess I'll start off with. We'll leave the real boring stuff for last, which is that flounder fishing. We'll leave that
right
at the very end. But
keep everybody slobbering.
Yeah. The cobia report. I've been pretty much twice in the past 2 weeks. I want to say maybe 3 times, and it's been just non-existent hardly.
Man, I thought it would turn on eventually.
No, I even ran over into Mississippi. We had the Sea Lab on the boat trying to satellite tag those.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, we have some tags that the CCA funded a couple of the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to get those out. Man, we fished well over 100 miles of water in between Mississippi and Alabama, and we saw one fish all day. Got one bite, and it was a small fish. So. It's just been non-existent. I've been going every time I've gone, at least seen one or caught a short one or maybe killed one or something like that. But it's not anything like what I've been doing in the past. It's been very, very tough fishing. There have been a few caught. I've seen some nice ones caught.
I wonder if it has anything to do with the storms.
I have no idea. It's been a real stormy year. I don't know why they wouldn't show up like they did. Maybe COVID got them or something.
Maybe they got the Chinese virus.
Yeah. The only thing I can maybe think of is that maybe they did, because COVID did hit when it hit. There's a lot of people fishing in the spring. Maybe they kind of a lot of them got picked off.
Got weeded out before they got here.
Yeah, their migration up or something like that. I don't know. We're having an off year. It's really irritating, but it just is what it is, and you got to keep on fishing. Never forget about his fishery.
That's right.
Just because they didn't bite this year. But anywho, did a little bit of trout fishing earlier this week. Had a jam up day. Kind of just to keep singing the tune Patric Garmeson was singing. And I know you had some success trout fishing one day. But for me, man, it's been all about getting in some shallow water lately. Been on shallow flats or bays, inside and outside all of our tributaries, I would say it, so any of your tidal rivers right now, inside or just outside the mouths of those areas have been red freaking hot.
A lot of shrimp.
Tons of shrimp all over the place. Fish just feeding like crazy. Kind of like what we were talking about a little bit earlier in the show. You can definitely tell that time of day starting to shorten up. Water temperature starting to kind of get down there into the upper to mid 70s, depending on the day. We're going to have a cold front coming through later this week. I think Thursday or Friday was supposed to cool off pretty good.
Can't wait.
In the 50s. That's going to keep that rocking and rolling. But I think what's happening, why this fishing is so good right now is all the shrimp are just staged up.
Crazy amount of shrimp, man.
And I think the shrimp are in the estuaries, and they've done all their spawning activity. they're maybe starting to pull out, and then of course the cold weather is going to pull them out, and the fish are starting to really tune up on the bait. You know what I mean? It's not so much about structure anymore, or foraging on a variety of things. They're on that shrimp bite right now, you know. So I think anytime anybody's fishing right now, you need to be using a popping cork with either a live bait or an artificial, or you need to be throwing a grub. Man, some great catches on top water here recently. So I'm kind of always carrying both live bait and trying to throw artificial, and just having the live bait if I need it. Couple of situations in around some of the tidal rivers I've noticed where really the live bait's outshining the artificial.
Like that.
But that's right. And I don't know what causes that, Butch, but sometimes it makes a huge difference. You know what I mean? Like, you can absolutely be not seeing anything with an artificial lure in an area and throw a live shrimp out there, and boom, it just starts. It's like you would just never known the fish were there if you didn't have a live shrimp.
It's wild.
Usually it seems like I'll make the jump artificial only generally sometime the first 2 weeks of November. So it's usually when I like to think I'm going to move over.
You still keying in on birds? Birds still giving those fish away?
Oh, yeah. Birds are definitely giving it away. Anytime you're seeing any laughing gulls around the area, and it doesn't have to be a whole pile of birds, you know, you can just keep your eyes peeled. You see a bird swoop down and pick up one or two shrimp, or if you see a black cloud of birds, you know, obviously that there's a pile of shrimp over there, but a few here and there will give away schools of fish.
For sure.
That's something we've talked about in the past, I think with Captain Bobby a couple of weeks ago. But you know, there has been birds around, and it's funny, I've been to some of the same areas multiple times here in the past 2 weeks. And one time I went and I didn't get a single bite in this area when I thought I'd had fairly good conditions. I come back, you know, 6 or 7 days later, and it's like a completely different situation. You know what I mean? There was birds working. There's activity that you could tell there's a lot of life. I've only been doing that in a few little areas, but it sounds like the reports I'm getting are all the way from the Causeway down the western shore of the bay into the northern part of the Mississippi Sound, all the way down that area. Didn't you experience? You and Jay, KillerDock Jay, had a good trip.
Yeah, birds definitely gave those fish away. I mean, we knew it was going to be on. We could.
Yeah. You know, one thing that's always kind of scary about fishing birds sometimes is it's like a nuclear explosion happened over there. Everybody wants to come see what it is, you know. And people get a little, and it just seems like certain times people get a little bit googly eyed over that stuff and go charging right in the middle.
Oh yeah, you got to give them some room.
Of those birds, yeah, and that's the thing, is just to give the birds some room. Get on your trolling motor, stay out off of them, get upwind so you can make a long cast.
That's what we did. Yep.
And man, it's crazy how different it pays off when you do those kind of things.
And that's exactly what you guys talk about all the time, and that's exactly what we did. You know, we came out and saw the big patch of birds, and I was like, "Yep, it's gonna be on." So I kind of went around them, and I got upwind of them and cut the main motor off and put down my trolling motor. And really just kind of drifted in, you know, we were doing popping corks and voodoos, and got, you know, doubled up, bam, bam. So I put the spot lock on and caught a couple of real nice trout, and they started getting the dinks. And so I literally just turned off the spot lock and let the wind blow me, kind of following those birds. And, you know, we doubled up again, bam, bam, with those nice fish, spot locked again. And we just kind of drifted with that patch of birds and just kept whacking them, man. It was awesome.
It's amazing how that'll happen, especially you get in some of these, I'd call them like especially up around the Causeway, you find these nice ditches on the south side where there's really not like any bank, but it'll be these real shallow 2 to 3 foot flats with some, you know, 7-8 foot of water in there. And you can literally do what you're doing, just follow them down, you know, and just be nice and quiet. You sound exactly like what I would have done. Just kind of kill that motor and just let the current, the wind. That's it, man. You got to be sneaky on them.
Yeah, for sure.
One little trick.
I had my moccasins on, so I wouldn't scare the fish.
One little trick I like to use with that is a lot of times you will be catching under bird schools a lot of smaller fish. And one thing I did on a real good inshore trip I had the other day started throwing a grub and getting down a little bit deeper on the bottom and not so much on the surface. And I started to catch better sized fish for whatever reason. And I've noticed that over the years, getting down, those deeper ones aren't always up on the surface.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the little ones are up there cutting up on the surface. And the
old granddaddy sitting down there going, "Oh yeah, boy, go up there, do your thing. I'm gonna stay down here and eat all these shrimp."
Oh man, you sound like such an old timer.
Getting old, man, for sure. Talk about flounder a little bit, man. Let's get into flounder.
Dude, man, flounder's been interesting. We've been catching a lot this year. Of course, I've been acoustically tagging them with the Sea Lab. I can't remember how many days we fished. I know we've tagged well over 40 fish already this year with
that's awesome.
And caught some really incredible size fish already. Average size is up. We're also catching a lot of smaller fish, which is good because for the project we're getting we're going to see movement from like a smaller younger fish, and we're going to see movement from the older bigger fish.
So those tags you're using are the hydrophone pinging ones?
That's correct.
Cool, man. That'll be cool.
Yep. So we've been doing a lot of fishing in some of the tidal rivers. And then getting down in the Mississippi Sound here recently. And
so y'all stop eating those tagged fish, right?
It's pretty neat, man. We've actually had some recaptures. Listen to this. This is a pretty cool story. We tagged a fish in a tidal river, and a couple of weeks later, someone recaptured our tagged fish. And luckily, he had been fishing with us before.
That's funny.
It's Woods Linsby, and Woods went to he caught one during a tournament. It was called recapture the fish during a tournament. He's fished with us, tagged some of these fish before with us, so he knows.
Yeah.
And he caught a tag one during the tournament and let him go for our sake, and then ended up catching another good one in the tournament and got a
it's karma.
And got a place in it, And then the next day, a couple days later, Dylan and I were in the same area, and he has a way to listen for him on the boat, and heard that same fish in the same place we tagged it, the same place Woods caught it, and we heard it again. Man, we didn't catch it again, but
that's cool.
We're trying, so it's kind of neat, to see
very
that
neat. You
can do a surgery on a fish and let him go, and he's going to be fine. We went down to the Mississippi Sound the other day, and Dylan Keene, who's the PhD student that's doing the study on these flounder, he caught his personal best flounder and on a live finger mullet down there. It was 23 inches, and on the bugger grip showed just over 7 pounds. So
man, that's a stud flatty.
It was an absolute giant. I was glad. I couldn't really tell because I always usually can look at the rod tip when somebody hooks a flounder, and I can tell that's a flounder, that's a catfish, that's
sure.
Kind of look. And man, Dylan loaded up on the fish, didn't really know. I kind of felt like he was hung, and then I saw his rod tip moving a little bit. I wasn't real sure. And I said, and Dylan goes, man, it might be a giant, And I threw my rod down like Captain Bobby fashion, man. Threw my rod down behind me. I was racing to the locker, and got the net out, put the net on. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I knew it was a 7 or 8 pounder as soon as it came in. It was just 8 giant fish.
It's a big fish.
It was. It's funny too, because we always think about that fish that I caught last year. That was 25 inches and was almost 10 pounds. It bit on kind of a similar day, real stormy around, overcast, was blowing pretty good. Had some rain. We got rained on a little bit. It's wild. It's like this fish kind of like that. Thrive in that
adverse
weather
conditions.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm a full believer that they're kind of like trout and real visual like those types of conditions, but it's pretty neat. But same thing we've been talking about on here, live finger mullet, probably 5-6 inches long, Carolina rigged, real short leader, about a 12-inch long leader. Dylan even likes them a little shorter than that sometimes. He'll go 8 or 9 inches on his sometimes. Really likes it down on that weight. It's all about figuring out your way, though, and caught it right up against the grass in a little bayou in the north part of the Sound, where we've been catching a lot of fish, but they've been real little, small fish. And speaking of that, catching a lot of fish, not to get off the great big one we caught, but we had 2 different days. So I think we caught 6 or 7, and then we had another day where we caught 8 or 9 fish in a day. And man, did a lot of damage on lure. I haven't really thrown a lot for flounder. It's a spinnerbait.
Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah, believe it or not, and that's a Captain Bobby trick. I'll definitely give
You told
that
me that before. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give credit where credit's due. Captain Bobby and I did a lot of slam tournaments in the past where we had to fish for pretty hard for some flounders. And he used to always throw a spinnerbait, and I wouldn't say one of us were hotter than the other. You could have split the difference on who caught the fish, the flounder every time,
Yeah, that's interesting.
But man, spinnerbait got it done. I caught 6 one day, and I think 4 or 5 another day, all on spinnerbait. And I'm just using really like I want to say it's called a Hildebrand spinnerbait. I think it's a number 4 blade on there. I could be getting that wrong, but those seem to make more vibration than any of the other spinnerbaits I've ever thrown.
And that's what I was just about to say. That spinnerbait kind of goes in line with what your article in Great Days Outdoors talking about the finger mullet, and them feeling that fish.
Right. Yeah.
They feeling that bait a lot.
That's right. You just kind of slow roll that spinnerbait, and like we'll get around structure a lot of times. A lot of times you're just throwing it against grass, grass marsh banks and whatnot, trying to look for like little points and drains and stuff like that. But I've caught a lot of fish in like the 6 to 7 foot of water range, and I'm just slow rolling that thing across the bottom. I can feel the bottom as I'm dragging that spinnerbait
right on the
along,
bottom.
Whether it's around rocks or around some type of structure, dock piling, stuff like that. Other cool thing about a spinnerbait too, you don't really realize is its tendency to be weedless.
That's what I was thinking too. That hook straight up.
The hook. Yeah, you got the hook. You want the hook facing the blade. You got the blade on one side, and you want the hook facing the blade. And man, the other cool thing about our tagging stuff, but every time you catch one on a spinnerbait, man, it's right there in the in his lips.
His first live bait, there, tendency to swallow them sometimes.
To swallow it. That's one thing we kind of run into a little bit of trouble with that. But man, that spinnerbait was a real deal. I've been using I like to buy the type of spinnerbaits that don't have a jig head on them. They come with just a clip, right? And
sure.
I can put my jig head on there, and I usually use about a 3/8 to a 1/4 ounce jig head on there. I really prefer the Hoagie 4/0 size hooks. They sell them at Academy, and I buy them online and stuff. But those Hoagies are really good. They got it, and the thing I like about them, especially for this, what I'm about to tell you next, which we've been putting a Gulp swimming mullet. I really like either the chartreuse or pink are both really good. I think Dylan caught a few on a nuclear chicken. The swimming
That's a
mullet.
great name.
I know.
What does that even mean? Come on.
I know. But they've got these Hoagie jig heads have a little hitchhiker on there, a little screw lock on there.
Yep.
So when you put it on there, you kind of have to like grab the tail and screw the bait on. And man, it really holds the lure up well, to where you hardly ever have it like do what I call getting your pants pulled down, with a grub will come down to the
it's the worst. Yep.
Right, to the curve of the hook there. That really seems to hold the bait up well. So that's why I like those. Have use real nice Gamakatsu good sharp hooks.
Yep.
Man, but just drag the bottom with that thing. Just slow roll it. You'll feel the bottom. You get hung up on the bottom, and you can usually kind of like I call it the bow and arrow trick. You can get a lot of them loose.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit.
Come on.
Do you see anything different? Last year you did the same kind of tagging deal. Do you see anything different last year versus this year so far?
No, not a whole lot different. We're still catching.
I think that's a good thing. I was just curious.
Yeah. All the fish in all the same places. But I feel like the fishing might be off a taste. I don't know. Everybody kind of compares year to year,
Sure.
And I also think about talking to the people who I know who flounder fish a lot, like specifically go for flounder.
Yep.
Everybody maybe kind of doing on the report a little bit,
Yeah.
But man, I tell you, as far as the one thing I've noticed this year is the size difference in all the fish. We haven't caught a lot of medium size, like 14 to 16 inch or 14 to 16 inch fish. They've either been, it seems like they've been like 18, 19, 20. Our biggest couple have been 21 inches. they seem to be on the upper size or the real extreme, like the other way. You know what I mean? You're either catching one that seems like it's like 2.5 to, or really like maybe say 3 to, I think we've caught some that have been close to 6 pounds already, 5.5, 6 pounds. But then we're catching a ton that are in that 12 to 13, 14 inch range that are just barely under the legal limit. I don't know what that says.
I was just curious, you know.
2-year classes is the one thing I've noticed.
Last year was the first year on the new regs, right? With flounder with November closing and all. So I was just curious. I know that takes a couple years sometimes to get rolling. So I was just curious about that.
Oh yeah, that definitely takes a couple of years to get rolling.
Sure.
You know, there's I got to take Scott Bannon and Chris Blankenship fishing a couple of weeks ago, and Scott and I were talking, and he said he was kind of chuckling one day because he had one of his friends call him up, or not one of his friends, you know, an angler call him up and say, "Man, I just want to tell you guys, thank you for doing what y'all did with the limits. Man, there's more fish around than ever this year, you know. It's because of them limits." And it was kind of like, you know, I could see exactly why somebody thinks that, but this is a year class thing that's happened. We're having a good year class of fish. It takes several years down the road for the limit thing to start happening. Obviously, it helps.
Sure. Hey, can't hurt for sure.
No, that's right. There's definitely still a fishery there. You have to go and work to catch them.
Target them specifically and put in your work and time.
That's right. And and I'll be quick to tell you, we've gotten skunked on a trip this year where we didn't catch a flounder, and we had a day last year where we didn't get skunked. Luckily, we only had one last year, one this year so far. Hopefully, I got that out of my system.
Got the skunk out of the way.
Man, it's tough fishery, you know. Dylan does all this. Dylan does all this. These analytics on everything, you know. Everything's in a spreadsheet. He knows who caught how many fish each year, and this, you know, he's got like a little race going, you know, who's caught the most and all that.
That's cool.
But he was saying that on average this year we're catching I think 3.6 fish per trip, you know. So
that's cool.
And I don't even really consider myself a great flounder fisherman. I'm getting a lot better at it.
Hey, like you say, you got to put in your time. You know, that's all you can do. Whenever you want to target fish.
You know, you have to go. And kind of the other thing too, Shane was talking about using that network. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, heck yeah, it's a big deal.
Keep that thing rocking.
All right, man. Ready for the Hey Cap question?
Bring it on.
All right, man. This week's Hey Cap was brought to us by Daycool Heating and Air. As the saying goes, if you don't like the weather in South Alabama, wait 10 minutes because it's going to change. But one of the things that is very predictable is the pricing at Daycool Heating and Air. They offer flat rate pricing and they don't charge for after-hours calls. Let's face it, your HVAC is always going to act up whenever you need it the most. Don't get stuck between a rock and a hot place. Daycool offers flat $45 service calls, $59 tune-ups, and they offer free estimates on equipment replacement. The pros at Daycool have been serving Mobile and Baldwin counties for over a decade. Contact them at 251-633-5121 or check them out online at www.daycoolair.com or at Daycool Heating and Air mobile app. They are license number AL07028. All right, man. This week's Hey Cap comes from Barry Patrick Vitter. He says, "Hey Cap, how should we adjust tactics for inshore species the first few days after a cold front? I have always struggled in those high barometric pressure bluebird days after the front moves through." I thought this was kind of applicable right now. It's going to be pretty chilly tomorrow, man, and Friday's going to be even more chilly.
Yep, I wouldn't call this next cold front we're getting, I don't think it's going to be real extreme, you know, but I struggle as well in this exact situation you're talking about, the first few days after a cold front comes through. And
we've talked about this a good bit. Like it takes several days for the fish to acclimate after a cold front. They got to figure out, you know,
it does.
In cold, and then it gets hot again. They got to adjust back to the hot, you know?
That's right. And so for what you're talking about, like just for instance, today's Wednesday, and say on Saturday, we were going to have like a 30-degree night, okay, which is going to happen soon. We're going to get a good hard cold front like that, and usually that does shock the fish. The things to think about are it takes water much longer to cool down and to warm up, you know, than your ambient air temperature at, you know, and you got to think about the top of the water column all the way to the bottom, right?
It's going to be a big difference in those two as well.
That's right. So the things I try to think about when that type of situation happens is finding what we call stable water, because when you have this big drop and it happens in shallower water, obviously that water is going to cool off before some deeper, more stable, what we're calling stable water. So to be a little bit more productive, I don't think you're going to be real productive on any of those days, but to be more productive, try to look for places where you find more stable water. And that's a relative term to where you want to go fishing. You know what I mean? There's stable water everywhere. It's all about you finding it. You know what I mean? So, and I say relative. If you're in a tidal river that's, say, like Dog River, where most of the whole river is like, 3 to 5 foot deep, you're going to want to find the more stable areas, which are obviously going to be a little bit more deeper.
And Mobile is going to be way different.
That's right. Mobile River will be way different. Yeah, that's going to be down on the bottom, going to be virtually unaffected for a little while. It's going to take several nights of that for it to cool the top to the bottom off. So look for that stable water, and especially just in those same areas you're at. But you're going to struggle during those times. We all do, and we're all lying if we don't say we do, because it's
fishermen don't lie. Come on now.
It's a tough pattern sometimes to come right through behind the front. I feel like sometimes in the wintertime, I get stupid unlucky just by the days that my charters fall on. I don't stay real busy in the wintertime when I'm thinking about some of these things happening to us. But it'll seem like they'll always fall the day after the front or something, just blowing real hard. You'll have it'd be real pretty and comfortable outside the day after, but it'll definitely have the conditions boogered up. That's for sure.
Well, awesome, man. Barry's going to get a prize pack from the Slick Lure. Barry, make sure you email us at alabama@bestfishingreport.com to redeem your Slick Lures. You guys make sure you get your Hey Cap questions in. You can either email us at alabama@bestfishingreport.com. Make sure you're following us on the Facebook pages at Best Fishing Report and our private Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report group for all the up-to-date stuff.
Man, speaking of the Slick Lure, the season is upon us.
It is.
It's time to go slicking.
I just got a nice new package from old Joey over there.
Yep, everybody needs to hit up Uncle Joey for some lures soon, because he's going to be running. Because like I'm not lying to you when I tell you it's slick.
He's got some out of stock already.
Oh man,
pureflats.com.
Yep, he makes a great lure, and I am tickled to death. I'm actually taking some to Texas here for too long, man. It's going to be pretty neat. Hopefully, I'll have something.
You want to chase a big boy, or what you doing?
I usually like big girls, not big boys.
True.
Yep. No, we're gonna go down there and do a little bit of wade fishing with a couple of buddies of mine.
I like that.
Hopefully we'll. Oh man, I'm tickled about it. Hopefully we'll have some stories to bring back.
No doubt. I hope so as well. Let's head on down to our onshore report. Let's see what old Captain Dusty Hayes is up to.
Ooh, I like me some Captain Dusty.
See what he's been digging into. What you say, Captain Dusty? What you got for an onshore report this week, buddy?
What's going on, guys? We have been fishing ever since the storm, and it's kind of heated back up. There's been people catching fish everywhere, off the surf, off the sand, everywhere from Rodeo, Pensacola to farther east to further west, Dolphin Island, all that stuff. Everything's been good. The redfish bite has been on fire. It is October, so it's notorious for a good redfish bite. We've seen fish from
Red October,
everything from 12. Oh yeah, everything from 12 inches to 40 inches. Some of the guys further west are getting the bigger fish, but definitely good numbers of slot redfish in October. And that rain we had from Sally, all that fresh water pushed a lot of those fish out on the beachfront, which is good for the surf fishermen. And the whiting bite's been good, typical fall stuff. It almost don't matter what beach you're at. I mean, you can go catch a good 10 or 12 of them. Easy, and then if you do know what you're doing and you really get into them good at the right spot, you can triple that number easily. And I have seen some pompano caught, quite a few of them, just kind of at random though, and that's normal with the fall run. There's no, exact time or place. Incoming tide is ideal, and that's all you can ask for. But as far as where and when, you just kind of got to go. There's people catching them, 2 or 3 a day, and there's some people only catching one here and there, and it's you look at it this time of year as a bonus. You can have your drum and your redfish and your whiting as your, first, goal mindset. It's like, hey, this is our main target today. But surf fishing, there's all kinds of possibilities. and pompano is usually an added bonus, so that's good. And
Yeah.
we'll usually see a good number of permit kick up. I mean, years past before they got so popular, I mean, you see a lot more of them caught now, obviously, because there's a lot more people surf fishing and social media and stuff. But I used to catch more in October, November, December when it first started getting cool than I did in the warmer months. So I'm excited to see, the amount of people fishing now that are, especially educated fishermen going into this fall and winter to see the fish numbers that are caught permit wise. I think there's going to be some good ones caught this year too. But yeah, it's been a lot of everything. There's still some lady fish hanging around, seen some schools of jacks. Some, guys are still getting good bluefish. Sharks are even still in the surf. A lot of the guys red fishing are picking up sharks. I was telling Richard before we started that the other morning we had a really slow morning. We only caught a couple whiting. I mean, it was a pretty awful morning to say the least, but we butterflied a whiting and put him out there, and within minutes we were hooked up with a big spinner, and he put on a show for us for quite a while, just jumping and jumping and jumping, and
Nice.
Finally he wrapped himself up and broke the hook off or broke the leader, which usually happens
That's
when
fun.
you hook those guys. But he put on a show. I wish we could have landed him. It was a pretty good sized fish, but there's still plenty of activity. You can make the best of it. Guys flounder fishing, man, they've been killing it. Whether it's been the size or this quantity, I mean, they've been out there for sure. I've seen a few reports of guys catching, 10, 15, 20, most
Okay.
of them being smaller. And then I've seen some guys just catching a few, but they're good sized fish. And that same morning, I think it was Monday morning earlier this week, right when we first started, a flounder had actually swam up while I was putting sand spikes out. He swam up just flopping around on the sand. It was a decent fish. And then there's a few guys fishing near us, and I told them they were kind of a little fast on their retrieve. I told them to slow it down a little bit, and they ended up with a nice 18-inch, 17, I think it was 17, 18-inch flounder. So there's plenty of those around too, which starting next week and into November, the season closes down for the month.
Yep.
But take advantage of that while we can.
For sure. I'm gonna back you up a little bit on redfish. Kind of just walk us through kind of what kind of rig you're using for those and what kind of bait they've been keying on. You been seeing anything in particular?
There's a few ways you can go about it, and I've had this discussion with people before. Like people will have a redfish rod with a little bigger hook, and then they'll have a pompano whiting rod with a little smaller hook.
Sure.
And I always tell them, I'm like, unless you're making a huge difference in bait, what's going to tell a redfish to eat that bigger hook and not that smaller hook? Now, obviously, if you're using a bigger piece of cut bait or live bait on a bigger hook, then yes, you're not going to catch whiting pompano on that. You're going to catch your redfish, black drum, maybe a shark, stuff like that, or even flounder on cut bait and live bait.
That sounds like a catfish rig, man.
Right, yeah, yep. But, that being said, like the other day, I think it was one day last week, I put out, had 4 rods out. And after a little while, I butterflied a whiting, put it out on a single drop mono rig, and it never got touched. Right, we had one fish run. I think it was ladyfish, and I changed it out. I found a little speckled crab in the sand. I scooped him up, broke him in half, put him on there, never got touched. We went 1 for 4 on redfish up close on little pieces of shrimp with just a little bead and a small circle hook. So it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it's more of you have to try all options. I think as it gets cooler and cooler and cooler, the water's still pretty warm. And yeah, it's fall, it's October, but I mean, we haven't had any cool weather in a few weeks now. Fish are doing fall things, but we're not into late fall yet. I mean, we're still early fall as far as I'm concerned. So right now, I mean, keep all your options open, whether it be samplers, if you can find them, blue crabs, speckled crabs, cut mullet, shrimps, all that stuff, fish bites. Now, as it gets cooler, it's starting, I think tomorrow night supposed to be 51 degrees. As soon as this little storm moves through, tomorrow's supposed to cool off, and even through the next week. And as that water cools off and the bait gets a little more scarce, their food options, dwindle. I think that's when you'll start, noticing more big reds on, just cut baits. And, a lot of that reason why is because, like I said, they don't have the food source. There's not food everywhere. They're going to take whatever they can find. So, that bait moves offshore. and they're chasing it. But those fish that are in the surf, they're just kind of scavenging for whatever. So, all of it will work, shrimp, all that stuff, don't cancel any of it out. Just give it a shot. The shrimp on a light rig with a bead, with a size 1 circle hook. I mean, your door is open for everything from a bluefish to a big drum to a big redfish to, pretty much anything. Flounder. You're not cutting anything out of the equation by doing that. So I always have a few options out there for you.
Sure. To key in on options, are you casting to Cuba right now, or is there any particular zone that you're focused in on right now? Or are you just kind of doing the 1, 2, 3 short, long, medium? Or walk us through how you're doing that right now.
Normally in the fall, I'm focused up close. A few reasons why. One is just it's like a history thing for me. I've typically always caught more fish up close in the fall.
Figured out a pattern this time of year.
Yeah, and as it gets into later and later, even if it starts getting cooler, my cast gets shorter. Now, that being said, I still have a rod out there. I might have 3 within 15 yards, but I'm still going to have 1 way out there just because. And it might be the occasional catfish, but I picked up a mini pompano on my long rod that's just out there, and it's sat all freaking day. And it's like, I just need to change this rig and bring it up close just to capitalize on my fish catches. And then, all of a sudden it'll hook a pompano. So, that'll vary on spots unless you're, a lot of people are going to use a 2, 3, 4 rod setup. If I'm up close, I'm fishing up close, and I know I'm catching fish up close, and I'm going to try to capitalize on that, put, 1 or 2 or 3 rods even up within that zone, 2 right where I know I'm catching them, maybe 1 a little further out to expand that. And then, if I want to do it the right way, I'm going to put 1 way out past that just in case there's a scavenger of some sort, whether it's a big drum or whatever that's just kind of hanging in that deeper water. I like to find areas this time of year that sandbar is a little further out, and that gives me plenty of room to fish, have where I can cast up close and cast really far. And by that, if those fish want to go to that deeper water, they have access to it very easily. They don't have to swim over a sandbar. They don't have to go down there, over here. They're right there at it. So they can, as that sun gets up, they can kind of creep out and that deeper water. And as that sun goes down in the afternoon, they can easily come up, 20 feet and be in that strike zone. So, midday, I'll focus a little more on deeper water, but, in the first couple hours and the first or last few hours of daylight, I'll, focus on that. I'd say within 20 yards of the shoreline is usually my comfort zone this time of year.
What I gather from that, Captain Richard, is whenever it gets a little cooler, Captain Dusty doesn't want to get his Captain Dustin meter a little wet, so he's got to keep it in keep it a little closer.
No. I don't like getting it wet even in the summertime.
Man, you can't be scared of getting wet now, bro. I'm about to go on vacation and get wet somewhere. Huh?
Yeah.
I'm just picking with you. That's good stuff.
No, I do. I am a firm believer, though, as far as that goes. I know we talk about this all the time, whether it's, me or Matt or whoever, we always kind of give the guys that wade out to their waist or to their nipples, we always kind of give them crap. Because they're walking past the fish, and honestly they are. But, there's days where you have to make long casts, and I have a few, 11 and 12-foot rods for those days, especially in the spring when that wind's blowing against you. And, you have those rods for a reason, and you don't have to go spend $1,000 on a rod and reel. But if you surf fish quite a bit, it does not hurt to have at least 1 good 10-6 or 11-foot rod in your arsenal that you can rear back, learn to cast the right way, and sling it way out there. I can there's not anywhere I fish where I cannot put a pompano rig comfortably without having to wear myself out with those 10-ounce leads. I can use a 3, put it pretty much anywhere I want to cast, and I'm not bragging. I'm just saying with the right rod and reel, it makes it a lot easier. A lot of times, my customers will say, oh man, you put that way out there with ease. Looks like you didn't even do anything, and that's where having the right reel, the right line, and the right rod comes into play. Having that little better quality stuff will make your life a lot easier when it comes to making those distance casts.
Absolutely.
For, surf fishing.
For sure, man. I think that brings us to our tip. We got to get that onshore tip from you before we let you go. This week's onshore tip is brought to us by Fishbites. Are you tired of scrambling for bait whenever you decide to go fishing? Have an artificial bait that's ready to go at a moment's notice with Fishbites. It's easy to pack and travel with, and it's also shelf stable, and not to mention tough. With Fishbites, the bait stays on the hook and the fish stays on the bait. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits, as well as tackle, at fishbites.com. What you think for an onshore tip this week, Captain Dustin?
Yes, one thing too, I'm going to touch up real quick since you're talking about fish bites. And fish bites in the fall for whiting is just absolute killer. I mean, they're all over it. When you get into them good, I'll pretty much put the shrimp back in the cooler and get on the fish bites. But for a tip this week, kind of touching up on what I was just talking about, braided line, there's pros and cons to it. A lot of people are skeptical of it. A lot of people use it nowadays, but there's still a few people that are kind of like, oh man, I don't want to spend the money, or I don't know what to get. A lot of people go with, they'll go with the cheaper braided line to try the option because they're scared, and then they don't like it because it's cheaper stuff, and then in result, they don't use it anymore. If you use the right braided line, there's a lot of advantages. One, it's going to be a lot thinner, so you can have a lot more line capacity. Now, you don't need 500 yards while you're surf fishing, but having a good, you can use a 4,000 size reel and have a good 2 to 250 yards of 20-pound braided line. That'll catch anything from a 12-inch whiting to a 40-inch redfish. I mean, that's all you need to get that job done. Now on top of that, with braided line, like I said, that thinner diameter is going to be a lot further cast. It makes a huge difference casting in the surf. I mean, you can get the same exact rod, same exact reel, put monofilament on one, and you can put braid on the other, and you can have the same person cast with the same amount of power, and you're going to get two different distances just simply because that braided line is going to cast so much further. The advantage of that is when you're fighting wind and stuff, it makes it a lot easier for you. Now, something big I've noticed with braid is as you're fishing on the surf, a lot of times we have our beaches run east to west. A lot of times we have a southeast wind or southwest wind. It seems like southeast is more common, especially when we're surf fishing a lot in the spring during the pompano run. And you don't want that bow in your line, it's like you look down your rod, it's like a huge bow in line. Yep. And you don't want that because that makes your rig drag a lot, and, it doesn't detect those bites as easy. Now, you can still fish, you can still catch fish that way, but braided line will kind of cut that back just a hair, as well as the longer rod does too. But braided line cuts that back just a hair because that diameter is thinner and it's not going to drag as much in the water. Just like, fighting big fish offshore, that heavy line, they're having to drag that line just like fly line on a fly rod. They're having to drag that line, and that line actually wears that fish down just a little bit. Now, braid, you don't have that effect, but it's cutting through that line, that water a little easier, and it's not going to drag down the beach as much. On top of that, like I said, you have more line on your reel, so if you have to pull off 10 yards because it looks like it's a little frayed up, that's fine. Now, braid lasts a very, very long time. I'm out here on the porch now looking at my surf rods hanging up on the rack.
I was just thinking the last time that I re-spooled all of my pin battles. It's been a long time that braid's been on there.
There's 4 rods on this rack out of the 7 surf rods I have in my little surf fleet here. For this 7, I spooled up my senior year of high school when I worked at Top Gun Tackle on Orange Beach, and that was 2013, and they're still going strong.
Yeah.
If it gets down low, I'll just and people are like, oh man, it's $40 to put braid on a rod.
Last years though.
Worry about it for years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, years and years. I mean, just wash it off. It doesn't decay. It doesn't rot. It might get a little sun beat up on you, but I mean, every few months I'll pull off 5 feet and just cut it. And, if it gets down to a point where I'm below 3/4 of a spool, I might even top shot it because most of the time my cast isn't going to be that far. If I'm at a full capacity on my spool, if I cast, I'm not getting below that 3/4 mark. So I'll just go ahead and fill it back up. You know how to tie a good knot, and it's no big deal. If not, you can bring it to us at Sam's and we'll take care of it for you. Another thing with braid too, a lot of people do it at home and it gets on there really loose and they have a bad result with it. If you go ahead and take it to a local tackle store and get them to put it on there for you, it's going to go in there a lot tighter, and you're going to get the exact amount you need. You're not going to have 10 yards of excess braid or 10 yards short by buying a prepackaged spool. You're going to get the exact amount you need. It's going to be on there tight the way it's supposed to be. Having braid on your spool tight makes a huge difference in casting and having their proper amount on there.
Is that what results in those wind knots? I get those wind knots sometimes. I don't get them very often, but every now and again, you get that, you cast it out and you get those, what I call wind knots. What results in that? Is that resulting in not packing it well, or too much casting and not catching any fish, or what?
Yep, there's a few things. Not having it on there. I didn't hear what you said originally just because y'all both talked at the same time.
Sure.
So there's a few things there. Not putting it on there tight is one thing. Casting really light baits with braids. Like say I got a 7-foot medium heavy and I got a 4,000 pin battle and I got 20-pound braid and I'm throwing a 16th ounce crappie jig into the wind. That's what I call it, a wind knot, because you're trying to force it, and what happens is it just twists up. Now, one of the main things you'll see is guys throw spoons and they throw different twitch baits and stuff like that. When they go directly, you do a line-to-line knot, and then you have a leader going to your lure. And a lot of times spoons are the absolute worst. And
spins it
when
up.
That lure is turning and turning and turning and turning and turning. It's spinning, and it spins that line, and it almost makes it look like a pinstripe, like a candy cane stripe. And what that does is it's twisting, and it'll cause it to twist up and give you your wind knots. And one more thing that can cause that, and you can actually fix it. I don't know how to do it off land, but if you let your line, open your bail off the back of the boat and let that line out and then reel it back in, it'll untwist itself sometimes. Another thing you can do to prevent it is reeling against the drag. A lot of people do that unknowingly. And what happens is as you're reeling, if you hear your drag clicking as you're reeling, you're actually letting the line out. You're twisting the line. And so it's sitting.
I agree with that.
It's twisting that line up, and it'll get it to a point to where you're going to have more wind knots, or even sometimes you can twist it so bad to the point where it'll break, and it's weakening that.
I ran into that a lot on the charter boats. Most people just think, that's a great that's a great noise, but it's terrible for the line.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So Dusty, I use that trick you're talking about. If you get your line twisted up real bad, where you're talking about getting the line tight on your spool. After I don't have a line machine. Well, actually, I do have a line machine, but I don't have all the parts to make it work. But long story short, whenever I traditionally reline my spinning reels, where you can't really put a whole lot of pressure on there to get it on there tight, before I even tie something on in the mornings, I'll let it out behind the boat where you're talking about when you're up at a fast idle, and then reel it in tight against the current that the boat's creating, and kind of combat that. And it's funny because you can almost overspool your spool just a taste if you want to, because when you wind it back on there tight, you're going to be able to get more compression and get a little bit more line on your reel there. And really like what you're talking about a little while ago too, how you're dropping down to that 20-pound line. I go a little farther than that. I've found some 15-pound braid that I like is what I'm fishing with now. Man, the difference is incredible. Like when you step down from like 20 to 15, or even I thought a big jump was from in casting distance was from using 30-pound braid on my spinning rods to going down to 20, and now I went down again to 15, and it's just unreal what you do with your casting distance there as you step down.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think a lot of coming with casting distance has to do with the technology that's in your rod as well, how the guides are spaced out, what type of guides they're using, how quickly they're choking it down. I'm a rod builder as a hobby over here at my house, and I've got it down to a science, you know what I mean? And it's really neat what you can do with some of these new guide trains and blanks and whatnot. I'm sure you see that in your side with the sarcasm, but man, that's some interesting stuff there.
I wouldn't know. I'm still waiting on my coal sticks.
I'm gonna get around to them one day.
That's right. That's really good stuff, guys. Yeah, I love that.
Lowering that braid line, or that braid, pound, does make a huge difference. A lot of people go way too heavy. 20 is kind of good all around for most people. I feel like on my lighter whiting rod, like my 2500s, I'll put 10 and 15 on there, and they cast like a dream. And anything, unless I'm if it's under a 4,000, I usually have 15 on there, and then all my 2500s I'll have a at least or 10 ballpark. But yeah, your casting distance, whether it's surf, inshore, freshwater, whatever it may be, it's unreal, the difference. So
that's an awesome report, man. That's an awesome tip. If folks want to get up with you and book a trip, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, give me a shout or a call, text, whatever, at 678-897-0167.
Awesome, buddy. We appreciate the report, and we'll talk to you soon. As always, be safe over there during this little storm, buddy.
All right, guys. See ya.
All right, man. That's a good show. Some exciting stuff. I like talking to Captain Dusty. He's got some good stuff going on there.
Yeah, we've had a lot of great contributors today with
Agreed. Learned a lot. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good content. It might have went a little long. I'm not sure how long it is, but it's all right.
Yep, we got Positive Pat on there, and then
hey, I like positive. We need positive in 2020, Cap.
Hey, man. Hey, and I'll always take some Positive Pat now. You know,
Amen.
Old Captain Ugly there. He's a pretty good dude now.
No doubt. Hey, before we move on, the CCA Alabama has that fall conservation auction that we talked about last week with Blakely Ellis. I just want to remind you guys of that. Text CCA Fall FALL to 76278. So text CCA Fall to 76278. It starts on 10/29/2020 at 10 a.m. It closes at 11/1/2020 at 7 p.m. There's going to be some awesome stuff. There's free shipping. Captain Richard Rutland is donating a trip, correct?
That's right. And so is
Captain Ugly.
So is Positive Pat.
So is Captain Patric Garmeson. There's a bunch of inshore, offshore, and freshwater tackle. There's 15 rod and reel combos, TFO, fly rods and reels, and a bunch of closeout items will be added each day. It's going to be awesome stuff. I will definitely be tuning in for that.
Yep, I'm getting the text in right now.
Yep, no doubt, dude. This is gonna be good stuff. I want to get that TFO. I know Pat O'Brien's got his eye on that TFO. You got to watch him.
Oh yeah, hold another Positive Pat.
That's right. Well, what'd you learn today, man?
Man, I really liked what we were just talking about here with what Dusty was saying. He was really hitting the nail on the head with talking about that braided line and being able to feel a little bit better, and especially in some windy conditions when you get what I would call a lot of bow in your line. You know, you don't have a straight line of distance between your rod tip and your lure or your rig. And with braid, it gives you a lot more sensitivity with all that bow in your line. You probably have like 2 times the amount of line out you need sometimes with that type of fishing, you know, with the
easily.
winds
You just
blowing.
got to feel the conditions, and it can be a big variance for sure.
Yeah, and then what I related to was using that lighter braided line on some of those spinning reels. And I think distance is everything. I didn't really get to say this during his report, but I always revert back to this article I read a long time ago in Florida Sportsman Magazine.
Yep.
And the author was just kind of talking about how fishing is all about covering water, and when it comes to casting, you know, he just made like a little short example about casting, you know, just to make you wrap your brain around how covering water is. Just stand right next to somebody and make 500 casts in a day and say, I just throw it 10 feet farther than you, 5,000 feet, which is almost a mile of water I covered throughout the day than you did standing right next to you. You know, that really resonated with me as a kid. I give a lot of credit to my success on being able to cast it a long way and keep my line and my lure in the water more as a result. So
for
get
sure,
more bites. I don't know. It just makes sense statistically, I guess.
Certainly does. I mean, it's there, and you're right. If you and I are fishing right next to each other, and like you say, you can cast further. That's going to add up throughout the day. You're covering a lot more water than I am.
Big time. And that's what was kind of neat about what he was saying is, you know, just 10 feet can make a difference. You know what I mean?
Several fish. Yeah.
You wonder why your buddy's better than you, you know, make sure he's not casting farther than you.
That's true. Got to come out your shoes every time. I'll swing for the fences.
Oh yeah, that's it. What'd you pick up on?
And as every week I pick up a ton. Shane Toole, Captain Shane is I think he's an awesome offshore resource. I really liked what he was saying about bridling his baits, and I'm constantly picking his brain. I apologized to him after we got off for all the questions. I feel like he was being barraged with questions, but they were genuine questions.
It's fun.
It is, man, and I'm still intrigued by the live bait world and how he rattles those baits and how he runs his outriggers, and I'm still intrigued by the center console versus the big boat thing. So I'm always picking those guys' brains on that too, you know. And I'm going to reiterate, I'm new to the inshore game, you know, and I enjoy fishing with you guys, and I learn a butt ton every single time that I fish with y'all. And every time I listen and interview you guys, me and KillerDock Jay would not have had the day that we have without the podcast. You know, we honed in on, all right, let's look for the birds, and all right, we know they're kind of staging up right now. Let's figure out where the flats are. And my forearm is sore, man. I think I got fishing elbow.
Woo! I got something for that.
Yeah,
I do.
I
do. You have to ask. You have to ask me offline. I'll.
That's right. That's right.
Heal that right up.
Amen. But so that's what I learned, man. I had a really good trip, and I contributed to you guys. I mean, talking to you guys and picking y'all's brains like we talked about before.
That's
Cutting
right.
the learning curve by there's no telling how many years,
I tell you one other thing that really pokes out to me is positive Patric Garmeson. I really liked his positivity for how the storm's not going to dump, a flood's worth of rain on our delta. So we're going to have a great delta. We're going to have a great delta bite this year. And Patric's project, his fundraiser he's doing for Very Strong is
it's cool.
It's really neat. It's tough when those things hit close to home, and you can tell Patrick
You can tell he's passionate
about it.
Absolutely agree. That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
he's very passionate about it, and he's doing everything he can to help make sure that's a success. So
it's one thing I've learned about Captain Patrick. He got a big heart.
He sure does, man.
Yeah.
He sure does.
He's a good dude.
Very good guy. I've known him for a long time, and my daddy used to say, "You're only as good as the company you keep." Right?
That's right. Hey, amen. Lay with the dog, you get fleas.
That's it. That's why I'm hanging out with Captain Patrick.
That's right. Well, man, I know it's things are kind of transitioning from this to that, and winter and fall fishing is going to be picking up. What's your bookings look like, and how can folks get up with you if they want to book a trip and taper it to whatever they want to do?
Man, best way to get a hold of me is through either my website or Facebook page, coldbloodedfishing.com, or look up Cold Blooded Fishing on Facebook or Instagram. You can use my landline and landline.
Right.
No, it's my cell phone is 251-459-5077. Man, for on my side, my bookings are looking real good. I don't think I have any availability until about the first or second week of December right now. So pretty booked up, pretty excited about it because we're starting to hit this cooler weather. Program had some really, I was just tickled to death. Our trip the other day, inshore, we caught everything on artificial bait, and man, it was so much fun. Starting to find a few bigger fish are starting to show up right now and whatnot. So it's things are really starting to come together real nicely. I'm in the boat with positive Pat, man. We're gonna have this storm's gonna be quick, gonna get on through here and
move on.
We're gonna have a delta bite this year. Golly, I can taste it. It's so close,
No doubt, man. Well, this week's What'd You Learn is brought to us by Test Calibration. If your diesel's hard to start, has low power, or is consuming excessive amounts of fuel, these are the common signs that your turbocharger may need to be rebuilt. Don't waste your money online with the cheapest options where you get no support after the sale. Test Calibration has been selling and servicing diesel turbochargers and fuel injection systems since 1976. No matter if you're running a diesel in your boat, tractor, or truck, Test Calibration can help you. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibratondieselandturbo.com. Great show this week, Captain Richard. I appreciate you co-hosting with me, man. It's fun.
I enjoyed it.
A lot of good info.
Yep, it's always a lot of fun putting this thing together with y'all and thinking it's a great thing. Like I I feel like a broken record saying it. You got the program is a great resource to our fishermen and to our fishery, I think.
Absolutely.
And keep everybody on the same page about everything, which is awesome.
Yep, I agree, man.
I thank everybody for listening as well.
Me too, man. You guys please support our sponsors and support our guides that are giving this to you every week. It's an awesome thing. That's going to wrap it up this week, folks. You guys please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text fishing to 314-665-1767 to subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the show each week. You guys keep whacking, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
This week's Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Angelo Depaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, your boating and beach property specialist. Check me out on Facebook at Angelo Depaola Realtor, the Coastal Connection, or call me direct at 850-287-3440.
Also brought to you by Coastal Conservation Association of Alabama. Check them out at ccaalabama.org. Also brought to you by Hilton's Real-Time Navigator, bringing you the highest quality online satellite fishing chart since 2004. Your source for sea temps, altimetry, currents, and watercolor at hiltonsoffshore.com. Also brought to you by Foster Contracting, Fortified Roofing Pros. Did you know you could save up to 40% on your homeowner's insurance with a fortified roof? Learn more at fortifiedroofingpros.com or call them at 251-973-9999.
And also KillerDock. Are you suffering from dock dysfunction? Check out a full line of dock enhancement at KillerDock.com. That's KillerDock.com. And also, Great Days Outdoors, the South's finest hunting and fishing magazine. Pick up your copy wherever magazines are sold or check them out at GreatDaysOutdoors.com.
This is Captain Richard Rutland, and this report is brought to you by Cold Blooded Fishing. You can find us at www.coldbloodedfishing.com.